Hi, and welcome to another WBGO session. I'm Gary Walker. George Cable's latest recording is called I Hear Echoes. For myself, the echoes I hear, myself, my brother and sister in the car, and my father jumping over the back seat, going, "Don't get in that back seat." Those are the echoes that I hear. But for George Cable's attending the Performing Arts High School in New York City, he saw Monk and Mingus and Dolphy and Jackie Byard and Max Roach and Coltrane. He played with Art Blakey and Sonny Rollins, made some gorgeous records in a group and a duo setting with Art Pepper. Same for Dexter Gordon. When he returned to the United States, his second recording featured George Cables on the piano, Joe Henderson, and he made gorgeous records himself, like Cable's Vision, with Freddie Hubbard and Bobby Hutcherson, Tony DeMoss, Ernie Watts, and others. But his first recording as a leader was a trio effort. Why not? It was 1975. Tony DeMoss and Carl Burnett were there, and so was George Cables. He was also part of what I think is the definitive piano recital series at Maybach outside of Berkeley, California. And he will come to Bethany Baptist Church on November the 8th as part of this year's T.D. James Moody Jazz Festival, performing with his trio with Alexander Claffey and Jerome Jennings. And that's on November 8th. And what a pleasure it is to welcome to WBGO today, George Cables. George, good to see you, man.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Gary. Good to see you.
What is it about the trio that really sets you off? That seems to be the format in which you make most of your recordings, your trio recordings. You made some group records, as I mentioned, but the trio is a very special thing to you. Why is that?
Oh, it's very personal. I mean, the fewer instruments, it seems like the more personal you get when you do solo or duet, that's really, really personal. And the same with a trio. But basically, it's a really simple thing. I get to play the melody. That, that's as simple as it can get.
And it could be the melodies of Ellington. It could be the melodies of Miles Davis, Seven Steps to Heaven. It could be a classic from Dori Caymmi or one of your favorite pianists, Cedar Walton, that you
Yeah.
display. Or on this latest effort, All by Your Lonesome, on the beautiful Horace Silver tune entitled Peace.
Yeah, on the CDs, I was about to say the records are still in there. The CDs, and it's coming back. But the CDs that I make, I I try to do, like Hitchcock is always making a cameo appearance. Sometimes walking or getting on a bus with a bass or some whatever. But my thing is, I always like to end my CDs with a solo piece. It's like I say, a personal thing, and it's a way to just make a personal letter, personal statement on that CD to the listeners.
Could be one of those many nights sitting at Bradley's, man, and watching some of the other greats do their thing at the piano, you think?
Oh yeah, Bradley used to sit up when he was there. He used to kind of sit at the piano with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, looking up, and you say, "Do you know this one?" And then play another one. But yeah, I really have I'm exploring and continuing to explore my relationship with this instrument.
And with tunes that we all thought we knew. For example, You'd Be So Nice to Come Home To, you put almost an Afro-Cuban feel to it, thanks to Jerome Jennings, right? Who will be with you on
Yeah,
November 8th at Bethany.
Yeah, I really enjoy playing with Jerome and Alex and Elliot when he's part of it, the group, um, uh, um, because they're really present. I mean, it's not like they're playing music uh, and it's just a form of playing, or just not going through the emotions, but they're really present every moment of a performance, so that when I'm thinking of something, they're there with me, or if they're thinking of something, I'm trying to be there as well, because I've spent much of my career being a sideman, or I could say sideman. Um, and I know that experience, and it's really important. All we have is each other. And in this music, it's being in the moment, and you have to be in the moment with each other. So I really enjoy that about both of these young men. Jerome, I can ask him to, he's always game for whatever. So I can ask him, why don't you, can you use your hands or just brushes or whatever? But using his hands on this, whether we're doing a duet, which we do play a bit, or whether it's with the three of us. Um, something like "You'd Be So Nice to Come Home To" again is something that we are all having fun with, and maybe using a different approach.
Sure. Imagination, reimagination for yourself. I mentioned some of the settings that you've been part of. I take, for example, Dexter Gordon and Manhattan Symphony. Following that, you and Rufus Reed and Victor Lewis, which were the rhythm section of that recording, you went into the studio and recorded Letter to Dexter.
Yeah, Dexter, I always felt, even though I played with many great musicians and many, many musicians who were my mentors, who also took on that role, I always felt that Dexter became my musical father, because of his approach to playing this music. And I think, I've been known to say Dexter Gordon didn't just play jazz, he was jazz. He left Los Angeles. Well, he's from Los Angeles. He played with Louis Armstrong, but he left LA with Lionel Hampton. He played in the band of the century with Art Blakey and Dizzy and Fats Navarro and Sarah Vaughan. And I'm sorry. The band leader was Billy Eckstein, and
Oh, yeah.
also was John Coltrane's maybe his greatest influence. So his music and his being kind of spans from that time with Louis Armstrong all the way to the influence of Dexter and Sonny. I mean, you would say, well, Train, he's my son. Sonny Rollins, he's my son. Joe Farrell, he's my son. So he was aware of the influence and his.
It's quite a family when you think, as you mentioned, Dexter with Lionel Hampton. Dexter and Illinois Jacquet sat side by side when they were teenagers in Hamp's band, and Hamp was only himself 21 years old. So what George is referring to here is quite a rich history of this music that informs things, not that it's a museum piece, but it informs things going forward. We're chatting with George Cables, and he and his trio with Alexander Claffey and Jerome Jennings will be part of this year's T.D. James Moody Jazz Festival, November the 8th, as Bethany Baptist Church celebrates 25 years of their Jazz Vespers program put together by our wonderful Dorthon Kirk. And George will be there that day. A guy that once upon a time wanted to be a minister or maybe a ball player. But
Well,
aren't
he's
we glad
deep.
that he gravitated toward the world of music? Now, classical music was your first introduction. What was that transition like from classical to jazz?
Well, it was interesting. I mean, I had a pretty good technique, and the discipline of doing scales and exercises and playing music. Like a pretty wide repertoire, maybe Chopin and Bach and Brahms, but the thing about going to jazz and what interested me about jazz was that uh, it's a music that came out of a Black experience, and it's an art music. You know, it's a music that, like I said before, is a music of being in the moment. And the thing about this music is that when you play, you become the co-composer. If Thelonious Monk wrote the piece, then you're a co-composer with Thelonious Monk. If George Gershwin wrote the music, then you're a co-composer because of the improvisation that's involved in jazz. You take a piece and you play that piece, but you develop it instead of like the sonata allegro form. When it comes to development that's written, you're writing it as you're playing it. You're a co-composer.
Well, just like I mentioned with Cole Porter's, you'd be so nice to come home to. Certainly, you are the co-composer on this recording. I hear echoes, and you can hear echoes live for yourself coming up on November the 8th at Bethany Baptist Church in Newark, the Renaissance City, as part of this year's TD James Moody Jazz Festival. And what a pleasure it is to chat with George Cables today on WBGO. I'm Gary Walker. One of the other tunes on this recording is a tune that you actually wrote at your friend Eddie Henderson's house long, long time ago, a tune called Morning Song, and that dun 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 dun. I mean, it just has the perfect introduction to the morning.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. That came later, when I wrote the piece, it was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And we had been hanging out at his house, and he and his wife had gone to bed, but I stayed down, I was downstairs. This is in the Berkeley Hills. Uh, and I just stayed downstairs and at the piano. And as the sun was coming up over the piano as a console, I started came up with this thing, and I mean that was had to be the perfect title for that moment. And I remember running upstairs and waking Eddie up. I had nerve in those days. Hey, check this out. So that was a special moment. Yeah, Eddie and I, we have a good relationship, a special relationship that goes back many, many years and many iterations of this friendship.
Well,
Uh,
when he wanted to portray his own witness to history, he called upon you to sit at the piano for his recording, and the two of you continue to this date because you're both part of the collective, the composers,
the Cookers.
the cookers. I mean, we're the
Yeah. Yeah.
composers. Come on, Gary, the
Well,
cookers.
I mean, that's true. Everybody's a composer. But yeah, so we have that relationship, and we stay in touch when we're not playing on the phone, and compare notes for this and that and the other. But we have a good musical relationship. I can remember, I think it was Woody Shaw who, at least Woody's version, Woody was, well, yeah, I recommended him to Herbie Hancock. And I think he recommended him to Art Blakey as well when Eddie became part of the Messengers. So, I mean, we have this relationship, and we go back. You mentioned before, I'm almost 81. So we do have that time. Unfortunately, Woody is not with us on this plane right now, but he's certainly a part of what we do and how we play.
Yeah, Woody was the first musician that I met when I started working at WBGO in 1982.
Mm,
First musician I ever met. Beautiful cat, man.
yes,
Beautiful cat.
yeah.
And the I Hear Echoes rings forth to this day. We're chatting with George Cables, and although he goes back and picks out, there's also some originals on this recording that are standouts. But the tunes that you thought you were aware of, they get a new set of clothes, and that's where the co-composer comes in to the field. And if you show up on November the 8th, bring along a birthday card because you're not too far off from George's 81st birthday. He's going to be performing at Bethany with his trio, Alexander Claffey and Jerome Jennings, and Sparklers Guaranteed at Bethany Baptist Church in downtown Newark on November the 8th. I have to ask you about a tune that's very personal to all of us here at WBGO. Talk about the tune that you wrote called The Mystery of Monifa Brown. How did
Oh,
that come about, man?
well, she's my Facebook friend as well. So I wished her, as I do, I make a point of wishing people happy birthday. And that started when I had an issue. I had an amputation, and my friends started to GoFundMe for me because I couldn't work. I wasn't doing anything. So I got a lot of support, and a lot of well wishes, a lot of great comments. So I wanted that's one way I kind of give back and just say hi and let people know that I'm thinking of them. So at any rate, I wished Monifa a happy birthday, and she wrote back to me. She thanked me, and she said, boy, the greatest gift would be if you had written if you'd written a song, or if you write a song for me, write a song for us. Oh, okay. Well, I thought about it, and I was intrigued by that. So I sat down because I really appreciate Monifa and her what she's about, the program, and what she's about. She's into poetry as well, and she's a wonderful
We're
poet.
very lucky. We're very lucky to have her, man,
Yeah,
because her observations about life in general inform every time she comes to the mic to do a program. And that
yeah.
also applies to you. I look here at the very first tune on I Hear Echoes is a piece that you wrote. It's one of your tunes. It's called Echo of a Scream. But your
I
inspiration for that was something I believe that may still hang in the Museum of Modern Art, right?
think it does. It's a painting by David Alfaro Siqueiros. And I think I first saw that maybe 50 plus 55, maybe years ago or something like that. And I mean, I love going to museums. And when I travel, I try to, if I have the time, I like to go to cathedrals and museums, especially. But anyway, I remember turning the corner and seeing this painting, and it stopped me dead in my tracks. So it's always stuck in my mind, and I thought it was about time. Actually, I was kind of messing around with the piano and doing something, and maybe I'll explore that with that painting in mind.
Yeah, Echo of a Scream. Maybe he'll do it on November the 8th. The
Maybe we will.
venue, Bethany Baptist Church in downtown Newark. It is part of this year's TD James Moody Jazz Festival. I'm Gary Walker, and we're chatting with George Cables today. And the important thing is that you always keep your eyes and ears open because you never know where that next inspiration is going to come from. And for George, it comes from generations younger than himself, that he has included in his creativity Alexander Claffey and also Jerome Jennings, who will be on hand with him on November the 8th at Bethany, but also a young pianist by the name of Chorus Sandoval. Talk about her, will you?
It's arco iris, Sandoval. Arco iris is Spanish for rainbow. Great, it's a great name. I love that name.
Arco Iris. I got to
Yeah,
remember it.
she's a wonderful pianist and a wonderful composer as well. She has a CD called Sonic Asylum, and the pieces on there are just wonderful. And her approaches to pieces like Footprints are there, and she Dexter Gordon, used to stretch out his hands and say concept. And in other words, you need your own concept, your own point of view. And she had that, and she has that, and she expresses that in this CD. And I chose a piece by her called Journey to Agartha. Um, uh, to play. I mean, if one that I could handle. Some of the other ones I really love, but it would just take too much work to play. So I was really excited with her and the energy that she brings to the piano, to the bandstand, to the music. So,
You're chatting with George Cables. You still teach. You learn something from your students, I would imagine, quite a
oh
bit, right?
yeah, that's one thing about teaching. It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. I have occasionally. I mean, I don't. I'm not at the new school anymore. I mean, but occasionally I might make my way in there, or take some of the have some of the students who ask me to come to my place to work with them, and it's always interesting and always fun to see what they're doing, because I don't try to be you got to do it this way, that way, this is the right way. I want to see what they do and what they're about, and try and give them guidance from my point of view. Uh,
Terrence Blanchard told me a story when he was at USC teaching on recital day. He'd be in the back and he'd have his pad and he'd be writing notes. And he said the students looked so scared. And he said, if only they had known what I was writing on that pad were the tunes that they were doing. And he's like, damn, I got to do this tune. Damn, I got to do this tune. Oh, yeah, that sounds great. I like that arrangement. I got to do that. So you never stop learning. You look behind to learn and you look ahead to learn if you're doing it right. And looking
yeah,
ahead to November the 8th, Bethany Baptist Church in downtown Newark celebrating their 25th anniversary of presenting the Jazz Vespers program, which is special in itself, but extra special when George Cables, Alexander Claffey, and Jerome Jennings take the stage, or the pulpit, as it were, on November the 8th as part of this year's TD James Moody Jazz Festival. Considering, George, everything that you've done so far, and you mentioned earlier you've had some pretty serious health challenges, and I would imagine that people like Monifa and others, and also the music inspired you to come out on the other side ahead. But what would you like to do that you haven't done yet?
well, I've got something that I'm working on, and that's just putting a book together of my compositions, of my pieces, to just to organize and have them out there instead of in my office space. And also, I'm getting one of my former students to collaborate with me on a big band recording of some of those pieces that I've written and played in the past. So
See, you're no stranger to that. I mean, hell, you've actually You've performed with a Philharmonic, so you know the large ensemble setting is not a stranger in the land of George Cables. That's for sure.
No, but there's one of my the students that I've former students that I've worked with named Mina Choi, who has done wonders in developing in her development and working with big band arrangements. She's already done a few of my pieces, Cedar Walton, Helen's Song, and some others. So I really want to include, some of those people who touched my life, and whose lives our lives have intersected in that way. To do another project that something because I've never done a big band arrangement of any big band arrangements or recordings, I should say, of my songs.
Oh boy, I'd look forward to hearing that, my man.
Mm.
That sounds like something really special. In the meantime, in a trio setting, but all the music they play, you close your eyes, going to sound like a big band
Mm.
when you think about it. George Cables, Alexander Claffey, and Jerome Jennings on November the 8th at Bethany Baptist Church. It's part of this year's TD James Moody Jazz Festival. And if you've never been to the Jazz Festival, it's 10 days where the Renaissance City just turns loose. And also part of that, and I'll be the host for this event, is the Sarah Vaughan International Vocal Competition, where we are searching for, the next generation of great singers. You don't work with singers a lot, but you had occasion to work with this Sarah Elizabeth Charles on one of your records, right?
Yes, she was another one of my students at the New School, as was Alexander Claffey. So like I say, I really like including those people whose lives and experiences who have intersected with mine. She was great at my I was doing a Herbie Hancock combo at the New School, and she was great. Also, I first ran into her at the Kennedy Center during the Betty Carter workshop, Jazz Ahead workshop. But she was great at writing lyrics. She wrote lyrics for Drifting, Herbie's piece Drifting, and I asked her to do lyrics for some of my pieces, which she did. Some of which, I mean, she did those on that CD, that the George Cable songbook, but she also has written lyrics for pieces that we haven't recorded. There's more stuff that can be had from that.
Yeah, as we say in radio, stay tuned.
Yeah,
And you got good reason to do just that because the subject at hand is George Cables, and those two hands make magic when they're at the piano. Coming up on November the 8th at Bethany Baptist Church with Alexander Claffey and Jerome Jennings. Sir, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you here today.
oh well, thank you. Likewise.
Great. I look forward to seeing you on November the 8th, George.
Okay, I'll be there with bells on.
There you go. I'll look for the cat with the bells. maybe maybe they'll let you. You wanted to be a minister. Maybe they'll let you do the sermon.
Oh, the sermon will be the performance.
There you go. The sermon's a performance. There you go. Thank you, George. What a pleasure, man.
Thank you, Gary. It's been a pleasure.
Take care, man. See you on the 8th.
Bet.